Good morning. Welcome to the Daybreak Show. I am the Sultan. We'll get started, but first, I have to make coffee. And I thought I would do something different today. I'm using a coffee strainer that's used in South America. A friend of mine married a Brazilian woman, and this is how her family makes coffee. I call it a coffee sock. It looks just like a sock on a ring with a handle. I've never used it yet. He sent it to me knowing that I like coffee. So we're going to try this today. They would normally be using something like Cafe Bustelo, that type of thing. I'm not going to use this today. I'll probably have it tomorrow. I'm going to use the coffee that I have, which is the Ethiopian. And I'm going to put it in my carafe that I have for my pour-through coffee. My water is boiled, ready to rock. You just put the sock, you can put the sock in a cup like this or in a carafe, but I'm going to be brewing a couple cups. So let me just finish grinding my Ethiopian coffee that I ground, or that I roasted, and I'm just finishing the grinding right now. Magnificent. I will just put that in the sock, or the strainer, whatever you want to call it. I just call it a sock. And we will get started soon. There's going to be links for everything down below. And also, too, submissions for Vortex Method intros will be at the end of the videos from now on. And some of them are pretty darn funny. I do appreciate that. So here we go. Coffee in the strainer, in the carafe. Now let's just pour the water in. So I'm actually doing a Daybreak Show. There, that's perfect. I'm doing a Daybreak Show and a coffee tutorial at the same time. So I'm just going, now that right there, that sock, look, see what's going on here? The water went through that, and I'm just going to let that sit a little bit. And I'm just going to stir it up just a little bit, just to make sure that we're getting full exposure. And then I don't have to do anything except pull the sock out. From what I understand, initially, a lot of the oils are going to be absorbed by the cotton of the strainer. And people will say that it gets better and better as it no longer absorbs anything, as it gets completely saturated. These get better with time because they're not absorbing the oils, and the oils are some of the things that give the great flavor. So you might have to use it for a week before you're used to your normal great flavor. But let's get started. And in a couple minutes, we'll come back and see how this tastes. I already had a cup of coffee from a percolator, which was acceptable. Normally, you are watching me in the dark drinking my first cup of coffee and reacting to it, but I'll be reacting to this. A lot of information today, a lot of information. Pretty girls with generally busty, curvy figures seem to be the least worried about men in relationships because there's a constant flow of men and they always have choices. They also have a false confidence because the men are just attracted to the pretty face, the pretty body. I know I was one of those guys that was always attracted to just who looked great on the outside. However, there's always betas in line just waiting for them later in life as they ride the carousel, and later on there's always going to be software engineer who's a nerd who could never get that girl back in his prime days, but now that he's 50 years old and making $220,000 a year, he's very attractive. But she wouldn't have given him the time of day when he was 25 or 30, when he was a nerd. That's a beta in waiting. As the hand is made, oh, let me say this. You Irish folk, you have the best blessings. Let me just tell you that. So, hats off to you, Irish. As the hand is made for holding and the eye for seeing, you have fashioned me for joy. Share with me the vision that finds that joy everywhere. In the wild violet's beauty, in the lark's melody, in the face of a steadfast man, in a child's smile, in a mother's love, and in the purity of Jesus. An old Gaelic prayer dated to, I believe, 1937. I am happy to be a populist politically. What does that mean? Populism is a political doctrine that proposes that the common people are exploited by the privileged elite, which seeks to resolve this. The underlying ideology of populists can be left, right, or center. That's why I refuse to be Republican, Democrat, this or that. I don't even like to identify with libertarian, even though I probably most identify with that on paper, because I find a lot of people who are libertarians are anarchists. They don't like law enforcement, people bitching and moaning about the police, and I understand that. I 100% understand that. But you're bitching about law enforcement being overpowered and overarmed, blah, blah, blah. But if some shit goes down in your house, you will call 911. I mean, some shit that you can't resolve with your own gun, you're going to call 911. And you're going to be thankful that that law enforcement is usually the first responder. Everyone thinks first responders are like the emergency medical people. Usually a cop is the first one to show up. And if he has to do first aid, he does it. Even when seconds count. He's not standing there waiting for paramedics to show up. If he has to do first aid, he will. If he has to clear the scene and make peace, he will. That is why I appreciate law enforcement, and I thank them every time I see them, and they are so surprised. So surprised. The goal of populism is uniting the uncorrupt and the unsophisticated little man against the corrupt dominant elites, usually established politicians, and their camp of followers, usually rich and intellectuals. Notice I didn't say Democrat or Republican. There's plenty of rich, evil Democrats out there. By the direct actions of the masses, it chiefly comes into being where mainstream political institutions are perceived to have failed to deliver. They have. Republican, Democrat have split this country, and I hate it. I hate it. Try voting in the primaries as independent. In most states, you can't. You have to choose a side. They have forced us to choose sides. I live in a mainly upper-class area. Homes, I'd say close to 500,000 and up. Mainly educators, lawyers, technical people. Intermittent Republican and Democrat, up and down, but everyone looks out for one another. But I remember, and I'm not a political sign guy, I'll never forget when I stopped putting political signs on my front lawn, because I knew that it would make my Democrat neighbors, who aren't as open-minded as me, have an attitude about me. Just because, never in history have I been hated for what I believe in. Thought crimes. Think about that. It's by the direct actions of the masses, it chiefly comes into being where mainstream political institutions are perceived to have failed to deliver, and they have. Republicans and Democrats have fallen flat on their face. There is no identifiable economic or social set of conditions that give rise to it, and it is not confined to any particular class of people. We're all sick and tired of it in the United States, and it's time for a change. And we got that change, and there's people fighting that change. Where are all the anti-gun marches in Chicago? Oh, I forgot. There's only black people getting killed by guns there daily. I forgot. I want to make it clear. Black lives matter. They really do. And I mean that. And I also mean all lives matter. But this is about Black lives mattering. And those people who are pretending to say that Black lives matter are talking out of their asses. How many people were killed in Chicago this past week? If that happened in a white neighborhood, oh my Lord. If that happened in this neighborhood, you wouldn't stop hearing about it. It happens in Chicago. Guess what? The liberal media doesn't cover it, so they are not your friend. Wake up. All right, bring back the draft. But gee, you have 2 boys. I know. Bring back the draft. I believe everybody should serve their country. We keep sending the same 535 people to Congress and expect different results. That's the definition of insanity. Thank goodness we sent someone different to the White House who's going to change the insanity. If not for you, the winter would hold no spring. I couldn't hear a robin sing. I just wouldn't have a clue if not for you. George Harrison, 1970. The man who halfway through his day can still feel his wife's kiss and embrace will be invincible. Nothing can stop him. Jim Rohn. What a great feeling that is, isn't it? They are not the walking wounded. They are a walking wound. Their whole existence is one giant reaction to the shit that everybody experiences, except they have chosen not to reset, reboot, or grasp the fresh start that life hands to them on a silver platter every single day. Let's try the coffee. Now this sock or strainer has turned, I feel like I'm milking a cow now. With that. It looks like it made a pretty strong cup of coffee. I'm going to compare it in taste to my usual French press. So we let this steep already for a little bit here. Put that here. Now I will pour the coffee in my penmanship mug. I'll put a link for that down below too. And my heavy cream. The rest of this will go into a thermos that I will drink before noon. Now, stirring the coffee with chopsticks using the vortex method, the only true way to optimize the taste of your coffee at the molecular level. We got started, but now coffee. Not bad, not nearly as strong as my French press. Doesn't have that deep coffee flavor, but it's good. It's acceptable. First thoughts are that I should have let it steep a little bit longer. Second thoughts are that maybe the fabric has absorbed a lot of the oils that give coffee its taste. So maybe my friend was right that this will taste better because this will just go right upside down into the trash, and then I'll rinse it out in the sink and then just leave it up to hang, you know, on the dish rack. Maybe after a week when this, and you don't wash it with soap, you just allow it to discolor till the whole thing pretty much turns almost brown and the oils are in the fabric itself. Then oil won't be absorbed into the fabric. So maybe that's what's missing from this. But not bad. Not bad at all. I wonder how many fertility and frozen egg patients pissed away their most fertile years on the carousel until God provided the right one. Now it's pray and get yourself together. Where was God when they were riding the carousel? This channel is where masculinity, Christianity, being a man, modern media, modern culture, all converge. You're getting all of those issues in the Daybreak Show. Where was God when they were riding the carousel? Do everything for you primarily, others secondarily. If it's the other way around, you're going to have regrets about relocating, putting off college degrees, large purchases, wasted time, relationships that you neglected, all because you made somebody else the purpose of your life. Men, when it comes to men, I'll speak to men. Men, women are not your mission. You have a mission. Women are part of it, but they are not the mission. And allow me to let you in on a little secret. Women don't want to be your mission. Although their nature might be, as my friend Rollo says, solipsistic, where they want the world revolving around them and you to exist to fulfill all of their desires. Women don't want to be the rock, they want you to be the rock. And women were created to complement us, not to be the mission and not to complete us. Gentlemen, you are complete on your own. You have to start living like you are complete. That's why I can confidently say, man up, brother, man up. Because the first one who can tell that you're not manned up is the woman in your life or the woman that you are chasing right now. She's sizing you up in many ways. And ladies, you can admit that that's true. That's okay. When you make the decision to be in charge of your life rather than circumstances and others doing it for you, people from your past will come back sniffing around once you get your shit together. Remember this, there's a reason why they are in your past. Remind yourself of that. Do not pat yourself on the back thinking, I knew they'd come back. There's a reason why they're gone. Several years ago, someone brought me a bottle of Evan Williams bourbon, bottom shelf, Econo bourbon, but I love it. And phone's ringing. Ticking clocks, tin wind-up toys, music boxes, rocking chairs, creaky door hinges, Westminster chimes, porcelain dolls, ventriloquist dummies. What are the other creepy must-haves in stories and movies? Put it in the comments down below. I'd like to hear what you think are great elements of a scary or a horror film. For man was not made from woman, but woman from man. Neither was man created for woman, but woman was created for man. 1 Corinthians 11:9. Don't argue with me. Argue with the author of that. Ladies, don't let your adorning be external, such as the braiding of hair, the putting on of gold jewelry, and the clothing you wear, but let your adorning be the hidden person of the heart with the imperishable beauty of a gentle and quiet spirit, which in God's sight is precious. 1 Peter 3. What jumped out at me there was the imperishable beauty. Imperishable. All other beauty is fleeting. This is beauty that doesn't disappear. A gentle and quiet spirit. Breaking news. Alien spaceship does a U-turn and goes back into deep space. Satellites picked up some words that said something like, "Fuck this shit, we're out of here." Jesus rose from the dead and you can't even get out of bed. Keith Green, 1978. When you think of tobacco pipes and pipe tobacco, what is the first company that comes to mind and why? I took a poll. 27% said tobaccopipes.com, 40% said pipesandcigars.com, 26% said smokingpipes.com, 7% said 4 noggins. So number one is pipesandcigars.com. And at just about a tie is tobacco pipes and smoking pipes. Rational Christian thinking. When shit happens, God is there for you. God doesn't exist to prevent shit from happening to you. Rain falls on everyone, including the elect. He is not your genie in a bottle or your lucky rabbit's foot. This just in. I don't think your "I'm blessed" and God's favor is what you think it is. And finally, I'm seeking a company to sponsor a fountain pen and a journal as a gift for each attendee of the Patriarch Convention, May 3rd through the 5th. If you are a father, want to be a father someday, you're going to be a father, I urge you to attend. If you can't afford the full price, I am authorized to give you a partial scholarship. Email me privately, and there's a certain amount that can be knocked off the price of that. Email me, gb@georgebruno.com. I would love to see you there in the audience. It's going to be 3 to 4 days that will blow your mind. Go to the website and the link that I put down below. I will be speaking there along with a lineup of some incredible all-stars. And with that, links for everything are down below, including a coffee strainer, which if you want to try, works pretty darn good. Finish your coffee, and I'll see you tomorrow on the Daybreak Show.
The only true way to optimize the taste of your coffee. At the molecular level. Nice. Very, very nice. Combination of my own peculiar roast and some Sanka that I had stored in the cupboard for the last 20 years. I'll put a link down below in case you're interested in buying. Oh, it's so good.